Ho howdy, my totally tubular gamers. We're back with, you guessed it, another video. Thanks for coming back to the channel. If you couldn't tell from my ho-hos, it's the season to be jolly. It is Christmas time once again. The time of the year where you get gifts, you see Santa, you see family. If you don't celebrate Christmas, hopefully you see a loved one or two or three, maybe even more, maybe your goldfish. My point is December 25th is literally right around the corner, and I love to talk games, and it got me thinking, what are some Christmas video games? You know, you always hear about the Christmas movies, and there's seriously hundreds if not thousands of Christmas movies. There's plenty of Christmas movies to watch, but Christmas video games, that doesn't seem to be as common. I don't see many people talking about Christmas video games, and that's because there isn't a ton of Christmas video games. But I thought I'd come here today and, you know, mix things up. I'll actually talk about some Christmas video games, but we're not talking about just any old Christmas games. We're talking about the best. What are the best Christmas games? So I've compiled a list of what I believe to be the best Christmas games. This list is in no particular order, and these games aren't necessarily only about Christmas. That's all they're about. Some of them are Christmas themed, and that is what they're about. Some of them use Christmas as a backdrop, and some of them take place around Christmas or even on Christmas. These are just some Christmas games that I thought were the best. I'm also just one man. I haven't played every game that takes place during Christmas, games like The Division or maybe Bayonetta 2. I actually haven't really touched. So as always, let me know down below if you think I'm missing a game. This is just my personal list, and I think these are some good games to play for Christmas. And so like, share, comment, subscribe. We got the super thanks and the Patreon as always. Any support is truly and greatly appreciated. We just hit 30k subs, so I want to give everyone a huge shout out. Thank you so much. Seriously, love you all. Thank you. I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. This is a Christmas miracle. And so let's just get right into the list. What are some of the best Christmas games? Now, when I think of Christmas video games, the first game that immediately comes to my mind is Nights into Dreams Christmas Edition. It was like a promotional game released for the Saturn by Sega, but has since been bundled in all the re-releases of Nights into Dreams. But technically, you know, this is a standalone release. And so I'm counting it. Christmas Nights into Dreams is very similar to regular Nights into Dreams, and there's really not ever been another game like Nights into Dreams outside of the Wii game. You know, Sega's reviving some franchises. Hopefully they revive Nights, because this gameplay was unique then, and it's really unique now. And the whole game really does center around Christmas. It has its own little intro, and it sees our main cast of 3 trying to find the missing Christmas star. Now, there's only really one world here, and there's a few levels with it. There's a boss, but it's really the exact same boss from the base game, and you know, it's maybe 20-30 minutes long at most, but it's still a fun little time. And if you like Nights into Dreams, there's no way you're not gonna like this game. You know, it's a fun little Christmas game. It does really center around the idea of Christmas and presents and the tree and Santa and all of that, but it's still an enjoyable time. This game also has a bunch of weird Easter eggs depending on what day it is. The Saturn was one of the first consoles to really have an internal clock, and depending on what day the Saturn is set to, you'll get some really weird changes. Like if you play the game on Christmas Eve or on Christmas Day, you actually will see Santa flying around. If you play on April Fool's, you'll be Rihanna. There's a bunch of fun little Easter eggs, but Christmas Nights into Dreams, it's a fun little ride that really does celebrate Christmas and everything that it's about. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, this game probably isn't going to mean much to you, but I'm willing to bet most people have never even heard of Nights these days. So if I introduced one person through Christmas Nights into Dreams, you know what, this video is already a big W. But yeah, this game, it really is as Christmas as it gets. The themes, the story, the characters, literally everything is centered around Christmas. Like, I don't know how a game gets more Christmas than this, but it's a fun little bonus if you like Nights into Dreams, and you can unlock it in all of the re-releases of this game. And so if you're gonna play this game, you might as well just try the Christmas level. Like, if you claim to love Christmas, this one might be a must play for you. It seriously might. Another game that strangely comes to my mind really fast is actually Batman Arkham Origins. I know this is probably not what a lot of people are thinking of, but I remember very much that this game takes place on Christmas Eve. And while the story itself doesn't really revolve around Christmas, there is plenty of Christmas theming. There's a Christmas backdrop. It's very snowy. Again, takes place on Christmas Eve. I'd say this is a Christmas game. Now, Batman Arkham Origins, I know a lot of people say it's the black sheep of the series, and it's gone relatively ignored. I mean, there was that recent Arkham collection, and they didn't even include this game, but I think this game gets a bad rap. While I don't think it's as good as Asylum City or Night, I still think it is a very good game, and easily in the top 10 best Batman games of all time. And I'd honestly much rather play this game than Gotham Knights. But yeah, when it came to this game's story, it takes place well before Arkham Asylum. Batman, he's not necessarily a rookie, but he's still in his early, I guess, more formative years as a superhero, and it's about Gotham City just becoming an absolute war zone by Black Mask and his assassins sent to kill Batman. The story, I remember being kind of disappointing. There are some cool moments and there are some unique fights here and some unique villains that don't usually show up in Batman games, but I remember not being huge on the second half of the story. Really, I'm still not huge on the second half, but it is a unique premise, and the gameplay, it's that Batman Arkham gameplay that everyone fell in love with. Sure, it's not as innovative or refined, it feels like, as, say, Arkham City, but I still enjoy it. I still think there's plenty to like here. The game still looks pretty good, and I still think it has plenty of great moments. It really is a shame that over the last 10 years, I've heard nothing but people dunking on this game and just kind of forgetting it even exists. And again, I'm not going to say it's anywhere near as good as Arkham City, Knight, or even Asylum, but I still really did enjoy this game. And, you know, if you're looking for a little bit of a different superhero game to play on Christmas, or a Christmas-themed superhero game, this one might be the one for you. While it isn't, you know, blasting Christmas in your face, it still very much has a Christmas backdrop, and it's still an enjoyable time. Now, another game that probably doesn't come to your mind immediately when you think of Christmas video games is Salmon Max Season 2, also known as Salmon Max Beyond Time and Space, specifically Episode 1, Ice Station Santa. Now, if you're not familiar with Salmon Max, all I gotta say is you really are missing out on one of the best adventure series of all time, a legendary point-and-click series that is one of the funniest game franchises you'll ever find. Now, this game is a sequel to Salmon Max Season 1, Save the World, and sees Salmon Max going up against this evil, bloated, pagan god known as Santa Claus. Yeah, they get a call from the commissioner, as they are freelance police, that Santa's finally lost it. He's making all these awful toys and torturing the elves, and so you go there to stop him, and yeah, he's certainly lost his marbles. This is one of the funniest episodes of Salmon Max. It really just some of the most I've ever laughed at a video game. Like, this game just had me cracking up through and through. The amount of Santa jokes, the amount of office jokes, and just how crazy this gets by the end of it, it's hilarious. I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm just going to say the story's really great here. The point and click gameplay, you know, it's pretty basic and easy to understand. The puzzles don't get too difficult or too challenging or just so out there that I don't know how anybody would have ever figured this out. It's not that crazy since it is only the first episode of the 5-episode season. Really, the gameplay, I can say it's some of the most entertaining point-and-click gameplay you will ever find. It really is that great. And then when it comes to the Christmas theming, it really is integral to this episode. You know, it takes place primarily at Santa's workshop. There's Christmas iconography literally everywhere. It's the backdrop, it's the theme. While the game takes place in November, it still is all about Christmas and Santa here. I will also say the last episode does have some Christmas related stuff in there, but I don't want to spoil anything. And if you're wondering why the hell I'm calling them episodes or seasons, that's just how this game is set up. It is episodic, and that's the format it chooses, and I absolutely recommend it. I love Salmon Max. I'll take any chance I can to talk about Salmon Max, one of my favorite series of all time. It's a really good game, and it's a great Christmas game. Now, here's a game where it really is centered all around Christmas. That is the Grinch Game for PS1 and Dreamcast. I recently talked about this game when I talked about all the Grinch games, and it's pretty obvious that this is the best of the Grinch games, and while I know plenty of people don't think this game is very good, I've always had a little bit of a soft spot for it. You know, I love the Jim Carrey movie, and this game, it's a half-decent 3D platformer. It's flawed. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of issues. The controls aren't great. The camera sucks. The pacing is a little weird and the game might go on too long, but there's plenty of charm here. There's things to actually like, and if you like Christmas, I think you will at least like the backdrop of this game and the themes and the story, since it is, you know, just the story of the Grinch. And if you don't know the story of the Grinch, well, it's time to get reading into the really deep lore that is the Grinch. There's so much to unpack here. You know, he's such a layered character with so much going on. His heart grew 3 times that size in one day. I don't know if that's a tumor or a boner, or maybe he used elf tears or something to make it grow. Look, you probably know the story of the Grinch. I know the story of the Grinch. I love the Grinch. And this game, it's a half-decent 3D platformer from the 90s. Look, there's nothing special here, really. It does have a few parts to it that do suck, but it's still a fun little 3D platformer collectathon. There's plenty of presents to smash, and you can actually have a few hours of fun here. Is it going to blow you away? Is it one of the best 3D platformers of the 90s? Absolutely not. But if you love the Grinch, you like Christmas, you know, you could do a heck of a lot worse than this game. You could play literally any of the other Grinch games. There was a Grinch game released here in 2023, and it really irks me that I can't talk about it in best Christmas games because this game from '99 is better. Do not play the modern Grinch game on Switch. They might have sent me the code, but I'm telling you, here in 2023, and I'm not talking about it because it's not as good as this older one. In fact, that new Grinch game is a pile of crap. They sent it to me for the free, and I still hated it. That's one of the worst games I've played all year. It's not a good game. It's not a good Christmas game, but this game on Dreamcast, is not the most beloved, but it's a fine little 3D platformer, and I'd rather play this than legit any other Grinch game. And here's a game you probably forgot actually takes place on Christmas Eve, and that is the original Twisted Metal. Yes, the OG from the 90s on the PS1. It does actually take place on Christmas Eve. Funny enough, I ranked all the Twisted Metal games for Christmas last year. Now we got the TV show. We're getting a season 2 apparently. I don't know why there's no new Twisted Metal game. I'd love to see a new Twisted Metal game, but at least we can relive the classics. I will say though, outside of taking place on Christmas, there's really not much Christmas iconography, and you could very, very easily forget that this game has absolutely anything to do with Christmas. Very easy to forget. It's a small detail, but us real ones know. Us real ones also know Twisted Metal 2 actually takes place exactly 1 year later, meaning it also is technically a Christmas game, but I thought I would just include the first one on here. The original 2 Twisted Metals, you really can't go wrong. They're some of the best car combat games of all time. Sure, they've aged in plenty of areas like the presentation, the controls, the speed, and both of them are rather punishing, but I still absolutely love them. Call it my nostalgia. I'm sure plenty of people look at this and go, well, this looks like shit. Why would I ever want to play this and it doesn't feel good? But hey, I still totally think there's fun to be had here, especially in the multiplayer. These games have always excelled in the multiplayer, and really, it got a lot of the car combat trends started. In the 90s, there actually was a good amount of destruction derby and car combat games. I know nowadays we really do not get any car combat games, let alone we barely even get any driving or racing games, especially compared to what we got back in the day. But this game, it's always been a blast. I've always had a soft spot for the original 2 Twisted Metals, and I think if you have any interest in the series, and I think these are worth trying. Maybe you got introduced through the show. I think these games are worth trying. I wouldn't say these are the very best of the Twisted Metal games. My favorite's kind of always going to be Black. I just spoiled my own ranking video, but you could go check out the ranking video as well. I talked about all the Twisted Metal games. This is always a fun series, and I'm really hoping that one day it comes back. And if it comes back, it needs to take place on Christmas Eve again. Come on, just bring the Christmas theme back. Bring the Christmas backdrop back. We love Christmas. Bring it back. Now, Batman Arkham Origins isn't the only superhero game on the list today. Here we have Spider-Man Miles Morales. Now, out of all the games I'm talking about on this list, this is probably the best game. It's one of the best games I'm talking about today. Maybe I'm a little biased, perhaps. It was developed by Insomniac Games, and I'm going to leave it at that at this time. And it takes place after Spider-Man 2018. It really sees Miles stepping up to the plate to protect New York, and specifically Harlem, his home. Now, when it comes to Christmas, this game, it's not all about Christmas, but it takes place during the holiday season, and so there is plenty, and I mean plenty of Christmas iconography. It's a backdrop. It's a theme visually. There's more than enough references to Christmas itself, and yeah, I would say that this is a Christmas game. There's even a Christmas outfit you can have. And I would say that this game is a good representation of the holiday. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, well, hopefully you get together with someone you love, maybe a family member, maybe a partner, maybe a friend, maybe a goldfish, maybe a skateboard, I don't know, something you like, someone you love, you know what it is. You just don't want to be alone, but hey, if you're alone, it's okay. I got you. I'm sending you my love. I'm sending you my spirit to come hang out with you, and we can talk about Miles Morales, because this is actually a pretty good game. It really is an improvement on the 2018 Spider-Man game. It plays very similarly, and if you've played that game at all, you're going to feel right at home here. It's about half, maybe a little less than half the size of the 2018 game. It reuses parts of the map. That's okay. It's New York. But it really feels like they do kind of evolve the game in a few ways. No, it's not crazy innovative. They're not coming up with a bunch of amazing ideas here that haven't been seen in any Spider-Man game. It's an open world Spider-Man game. You web sling, you fight bad guys, you stop crime. There's some side missions, there's some main missions, there's some really great boss fights. You fight plenty of awesome Spider-Man villains here. The boss fights are really good. The story's good. It's unpredictable. And Miles is a really great character. I enjoy this game. I enjoy the story. I liked it back when I got it. It was one of the first PS5 games I played outside of Astro's Playroom, and I still think it's pretty good nowadays. It's one of the best Spider-Man games of them all. And if you're going to play Spider-Man 2 this winter and you haven't played Miles Morales now, it's a great time to play Miles Morales. It's literally Christmas time, which is when this game takes place. Pretty good game. Now, this next game isn't necessarily a game, but rather the entire Yakuza series. You know, I love the Yakuza / Like a Dragon series, and I'll take any chance I can to talk about them. And yeah, I'm including the Yakuza games. While none of the games specifically, you know, center around Christmas, Christmas is a backdrop more than once for these games. It does play a part in the theming, what you will visually see. Now, I can also say one of the sub-stories is very Christmas themed in Yakuza 5 featuring Saejima. This was always one of my favorite sub-stories of the entire game, and it involves a bunch of Santas. It's really actually quite humorous, and if you play 5, I recommend you do this sub-story. My point is the Yakuza games have kind of always circled around that Christmas month, Christmas theming, to the point that, yeah, I'm going to include it on here. I love the Yakuza series. If you have not tried these games, I really recommend you try them. While my favorite might not actually have anything to do with Christmas, I still think Yakuza 0, Yakuza 5, Yakuza Kiwami, or even the original PS2 game, they're all great games, and you really can't go wrong with them. Like, I know that these games aren't everyone's cup of tea. Some people have said they don't like the beat 'em up gameplay. Some people have said they don't like that it's becoming an RPG. There's plenty of things to disagree on here, but what we can all agree on is that, yeah, Christmas does play a part in a few of these games. Then that all these games have great personalities. There's a bunch of love and charm and memorable moments, especially in Yakuza 0, and we could be here all day talking about how great the Yakuza series is, but I thought I would just include it here because I gotta find some way to talk about Yakuza, right? But if I had to nail it down to, I guess, just one Yakuza game for this list, I would say Yakuza 5 because of the Santa sub-story, but that doesn't discount several other Yakuza games. And for our last game, when it comes to the best Christmas games, we have Metal Gear 2. This is not Metal Gear Solid 2, we're talking the OG Metal Gear 2. It does actually take place on Christmas Eve, and it sees Snake heading to Zanzibar land to stop a nuclear mech attack once again. However, outside of a line of dialogue or two, the game doesn't really take advantage of the Christmas setting. I wouldn't really say this is all that much of a Christmas game. It's a pretty serious stealth action game that really did push the stealth genre forward, and it evolves on the first game's gameplay. At this point in time, it's pretty fair to say that the original 2 Metal Gear games really have been overshadowed by the Solid series, and I think that these 2 games desperately need a remake or some kind of mega re-release, and I think Metal Gear 2 would really benefit from that, as it actually is a pretty good game. It's quite a bit better than the first one, and I would say it's not all that far away from Solid in terms of quality. Sure, plenty of other aspects are really dated, like the gameplay, but this was a very forward-thinking game that was actually a bit of ahead of its time. It's a half-decent stealth game that is actually worth playing even nowadays, especially if you love the series and, you know, maybe for Christmas you're playing a bunch of the MGS games. This isn't one to just skip because it's old. It's actually still good, and it's very widely available. There was that recent MGS collection. It wasn't that great, especially for the PS2 games, but I mean, you can't really mess up a game this old in terms of re-releasing it. I think this version's fine. I don't know. I'm not messing around with that new version. I still got my HD collection on 360. That game was gold. This game, it's pretty good, and I think it is worth playing even nowadays. And yeah, we're really just going to wrap it up on the best Christmas games. But wait, that's not all. I talked about the very best of the Christmas games. I thought I would mention some of the worst. I'm not going into anywhere near as much detail as these games don't really deserve the attention, but I'll bring them up anyway. Dead Rising 4. Never liked this game. It killed off the series. Alone in the Dark 2. It does have plenty of Christmas iconography. You even get to dress up as Santa. This is one of the worst survival horror games I've ever played. Any game related to Home Alone. You know, I love the first 2 movies, but any of these games, yeah, they're not it. And then Duke Nukem 3D Nuclear Winter. It was a standalone expansion to Duke Nukem 3D. This is the weakest of all the Duke 3D expansions and is just kind of an embarrassment to play nowadays. And of course we have Elf Bowling, one of the worst video games ever made. I mean, elves, Santa, I'm just going to kind of leave it at that. It's just an awful, awful experience that nobody should ever touch. And that's it when it comes to the best and I guess a couple of the worst Christmas games. Let me know down below what you all think of this list. Again, I'm just one person. I haven't played every game that features Christmas in it. I mean, I didn't even include Animal Crossing here because that just kind of seems too easy. That's low-hanging fruit. Low-key, I just wanted to make this video so I could do the intro of Ho Howdy. But, you know, here we are at the end of the video, and all I can say is if you made it to this part, comment candy cane as in what you might be eating this Christmas. I don't know. I don't actually really like candy canes. I just don't like how they taste. That's just me, though. Anyway, I'm rambling. Have a great Christmas. Stay safe. Hopefully you're not alone and you see someone you love. If not, just remember that there actually is someone out there in the world that does love you and care about you. They might not be with you right at this moment, but they do love and care about you. And that's how I'm ending today's video. So I'll see you all later. Bye-bye now.